A vague disclaimer is no one's friend. This podcast will look at episodes in relation to Buffy and Angel as a whole, and therefore contains spoilers for the entirety of both series. If you haven't seen all of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel the series, go and watch them before you listen to this. Remember, you've been warned.
The hardest thing in this world is to live in it.
That's why there's us, champions. We live as though the world were as it should be, to show it what it can be.
The Earth is definitely doomed.
It's Tuesday, so it must be time to return to the Hellmouth. We're going through the Buffyverse episode by episode and a look back at Joss Whedon's iconic show. I'm Emcee, and I'm here with...
Hola, it's Andie.
This is David.
Hi, it's Jan.
And Logan is not here with us today, but she is with us in spirit in the love of Ethan Rayne. So today we're going to be talking about Halloween, which is episode 6 of season 2. It originally aired October 27th, 1997. It was written by Carl Ellsworth in his only episode of the Buffyverse, because he was fired immediately afterwards.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Exactly. I'm trying to figure out why, because this is kind of an awesome episode.
Yeah, this is to me like a quintessential Buffy episode.
Yeah.
As we will discuss.
Huh.
So I'm just I'm shocked. I thought it was like a core writer who wrote this.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the episode. I mean, the only thing I can think is maybe he overran, maybe he
crossed Joss somehow.
Maybe he was just an asshole and they let him go.
I was going to say, maybe he was difficult to work with, but it's a good story.
Or I've also seen on several different Buffy sites this episode also credited to Joss. So maybe Joss had to do so much rewrite that he's like, I'm not going to have you back.
Possibly. And it was directed by Bruce Seth Green, who is, of course, a mainstay of the show.
Absolutely. We like that guy.
Yes, we do.
Yep.
And so this opening of this episode, I am a big fan of the opening of this episode, and I don't really know why. I think it's because there's actually some pretty cool, like, subtle fighting going on. Like, because, I mean, it's just kind of your bog standard Buffy fights a vampire opening. But I really like the way that they're actually, like, using the space around them. Like, when Buffy throws the stake and, like, the vampire, like, grabs the scarecrow to, like, you know, block the attack, and then Buffy's staking him with the sign. I really like those kinds of inventive fights.
Yeah, and also, there is a bit more space to work with, because for once we're in a pumpkin patch and not a cemetery.
Yes.
Right.
True. I mean, we talked about Bruce Seth Green just 2 seconds ago, and he was a mainstay for the first 2 seasons, and tends to do really good, solid work. So camera blocking, angle, things like that is probably going to play into, you know, why that's such an enjoyable little scene.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I first saw this being like, why are they recording, or what's happening? What? So, you know, it's a good little opener.
Well, Spike getting at one of his flunkies to record Buffy, it really kind of sets up, like, the differences between Spike and Drusilla and the Master, because the Master was so, like, old school, all about ritual and stuff, and Spike's just like, okay, you're gonna record her so that I can learn her techniques.
Oh, and then he gets all obsessive about it, too.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, she does this, and I was like, oh, there it is, right there.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like the beginning of the whole Spike thing, where he's, like, stealing pictures of her and drawing her and everything. I mean,
right.
You don't even want to think about the kind of stuff Spike probably did with that video.
No.
Or maybe you do. I don't know. I won't judge.
Maybe I do. Yeah, I mean, it started right there. You can already see that sort of, you know, obsession with Buffy, not just... I mean, I think at this point he's still like, I'm going to kill another Slayer, because I kill Slayers. I killed 2. Look at me, I'm so cool. But there's a certain bit of admiration creeping in already. Yep. Mm-hmm. Especially after the whole school hard thing and Joyce and the axe, and he's like, interesting girl. It's not just like some random woman who's, you know, that he kills.
Yeah, and I think it's in a weird way, I mean, at least in his head now, it's almost like the hunter, like when you're stalking your prey and you sort of learn your enemy, like, you know, where does they go, how do they do this? So I think in his head right now, it's just like, well, she's thwarted me once, therefore I must kill her. I must go after her now.
Right.
So Yeah, I don't think he knows he's, there's a romantic anything or sexual anything
no,
at this
right.
point. It's just like, oh my god, she's like thwarted me. I must go do this one and I'm going to take her down, as soon as I figure out what she's doing and how she's doing it so I can learn all her weaknesses and I will be triumphant. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah, but by the end of this season, I remember the summer after the season, Spuffy fic took off.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
it just exploded. And it was a lot of darker stuff where he goes and finds her in LA and all that stuff. And that's the stuff that I started reading around that time, is right at the end of season 2. It all started coming into play. So this is the beginning.
After they work together in
Oh, yeah, for sure. But my shipper goggles are on for them constantly. So that's just me.
Even in School Hard, when he's like going to check her out for the first time, I mean, he's checking her out. I mean,
Well, yeah, Spike's a pig about stuff like that. He's like not gonna be a super respectful dude about checking out chicks. So, yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, like the tension between Buffy and Spike was there, like, right from the beginning.
The chemistry between Sarah and James was like immediately there, more so than her and David. And as much as the two of them love to think they're each other's true loves, and I'm not saying Spike's Buffy's true love, it's just my ship. It's not. You can do whatever you want with that. But the fact that the chemistry between those two actors who didn't love each other as much as Sarah and David did, it's, you can feel it. So
Yeah, oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I don't ship them, and I when we get further along, I will have many things to say about it. But, to me, it's like there's the hate sex vibe, which is perfect
for sure.
There's a lot of chemistry between them, so I see why it's there. But I just hated the way it eventually went on.
That's again
for another time.
I'm not the kind of shipper that's like all other ships must die. I'm like, cool, read whatever floats your boat.
Yep.
So.
Oh, same here.
Yeah.
At the time, I just remember the Buffy fandom being sort of over the top, and it was like a, 10 rows kind of thing where it was all encompassing, and it had to be this way. And like I said, there's much to be said about it, but not all shippers are the same.
I'm sure we'll say more about it.
Well, we've discussed we discussed the chemistry thing before. I think when we talked about School Hard, we definitely the comparative. Sarah and David and Sarah and James, and I think we went into that in pretty extensive detail. So that is definitely a thing.
Yeah, and of course, like Jan, Andie and I are also coming from it from a different perspective because we were in the fandom like right from the very beginning. So during season 2, like the landscape of Buffy was entirely different from when you said that you got in around season 6. Because around season 6, a lot of the people who like were even into it in season 2 were just like, oh, I'm not too sure about this anymore.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I sort of knew about it a little bit before, because even though I wasn't in Buffy fandom and I wasn't actually watching it, I had friends who did, so I saw a lot of, like, discussion on LiveJournal or amongst my friends or in fanzines or what have you, so I was sort of aware of it, but yeah, it became like, it just kind of exploded in not necessarily a good way, but yeah, I'm sure you guys saw it very differently, as we've seen in other fandoms that I won't start ragging on people's ships about, where, before 2 people were actually involved and it was kind of a fun thing to play with, it was good, and then as soon as it became canon, it, like, went to hell in a handbasket.
Oh, yeah. And speaking of couples that go to hell in a handbasket as soon as they hook up, the scene after Buffy fighting in the graveyard is Angel and Cordelia.
Yes.
Which I was going to say, there's a lot of palpable chemistry between those two. I think more so than between him and Sarah. So I can see why that happened later on in Angel, because I'm like, no, these two actually work better together, even though they're like complete polar opposites.
Yeah.
I like Cordy and Angel. I think it was mishandled on the television show Angel.
Oh, God, yes.
I think it totally could have worked, but it just was written badly. But I think chemistry-wise, David and Charisma are great together, and they're super pretty together.
I will have so many things to say about Angel and Cordelia once we get over onto Angel, because I have so many opinions on Angel.
And this is, and I think we have an important moment here. This is the first time I believe that Cordelia gets Angel coffee.
Yeah, and it's probably much better coffee than Cordelia will give him later.
Indeed,
that she will make herself. Yeah,
that sounds like it should be code for something, but and then she got him coffee. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But
question, in that scene, I can't tell if angels laugh at Cordy is genuine or polite?
He's being polite.
You think?
I think he's being polite because I think it's a really awkward moment for him, and he really wants to see Buffy.
Yeah,
and then of course she like completely cock blocks it, and
I don't mean genuine like, oh, I'm into this girl. Just more like, okay, this ridiculous human being is making me laugh. So
I think he doesn't really understand what she's saying. So it's like, yeah, that's funny.
True.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah, it's like Cordy's fake laugh in Reptile Boy.
Yes. It's a little better than that, though.
It is.
I was a bit thrown by his light powder blue shirt.
They've been doing this a couple episodes, and I'm like, what's up with the light colors on Angel?
And this shirt was untucked too, which really bugged me.
Though I have to say, as somebody who's not a big fan of David Boreanaz, he was pretty cute in that scene. Like
he was,
yeah.
I found him very, very attractive. Probably the first 2 seasons or so. By the time he moved over to Angel, not so much, and not so much now. Yeah. I'm not saying he's ugly, but I mean, at the time, he's not an unhandsome dude.
Yeah.
So.
Though I do have to say, like, what the fuck? Why is Angel just sitting at the bronze waiting for Buffy to come? Like, he's supposed to be some sort of... okay, like, he's not been declared a champion yet, but he's supposed to be a fighter against evil, and so he's just sitting around for his girlfriend to come there.
Well,
why
I
is
think
he so
they had
fucking
plans,
useless?
though.
He's so useless if he's not on his own show.
Right, but I think...
Well, they did have plans, but also, maybe it's me, but because he should be an old-fashioned guy, wouldn't he have, like, arranged to meet her and then walk to the bronze with her? You know, this is sort of like courtesy or dating etiquette, not, I'll meet you at the bar.
I mean, he's not that old-fashioned. When he was alive, he was basically hanging out with whores. So it's not like original OG Liam was like, let me walk this lady to her door. No, he's like, let me go fuck a whore.
That's something else I have in my notes about this episode.
Me too. Me too.
Again, we've discussed this before. The whole Angel doesn't have a whole lot of dating experience.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Yeah. So... I mean, I think they did have plans, and a lot of times she will say throughout the course of the series, I'll meet you later after I'm done patrolling, or I have to do this, and then I'll see, you know. So I think he's just sitting in the bronze.
I just don't get it, why they put Angel on the side. I mean, I know why they do it, like, in terms of, like, the show, because Buffy's the hero and everything, but Angel should just be like, put me in, coach, I've got superpowers. I mean, certainly they get over it later when it comes to Spike. But Angel's kind of fucking useless until he becomes a detective.
He kind of is, yeah. Agree.
Yeah.
Agreed. Cordy is a gift. But I say that pretty much every episode, you know, like, she's just great. And she's just so awful and so great.
But I love her awfulness because she's real. I mean, she's real. It's the whole Mean Girl thing. She fits in perfectly, and she just has she really is funny. She has some of the best lines. It's just like, you know, zinger here, zinger there, and I love her. I love her more than I did, I think, when I watched it the first time. So.
I do feel though that like Cordelia's interest in Angel, at least at this point, is almost more just to compete with Buffy than it is an actual interest in Angel.
Yeah, it's one of those things where if she actually got him, she wouldn't know what the hell to do with him.
Yeah. And later, I mean, she'll have that whole speech in the ladies' room at school where she says, you know, where it comes to dating, I'm the Slayer.
Yeah.
So it's like she has this serious competitive thing going on.
She does with Buffy through the entire time she's on the series before she moves up on her own. So yeah, I mean, it's partially that.
I was just going to say, I think a lot of Buffy's insecurities when it comes to Cordelia is the fact that they're very similar characters. I mean, like, Cordelia is, like, running a couple of years behind Buffy, but they actually go on very similar trajectories, because, I mean, Buffy brings it up later, like, how similar she was to Cordelia, and later on we'll actually see Cordelia become very Buffy-like, and coincidentally, that, you know, happens around the time that she and Angel hook up. And I think even Darla has some of, you know, she is like a shadow version of that, like this dark version of them, but kind of these, you know, very strong women who kind of embrace femininity while also being super powerful. I think that's just totally what Angel is into.
Oh, yeah, definitely. For sure. And the funny thing is, though, Cordy and Buffy are so competitive with the boys. Buffy always ends up getting the boy that Cordelia's, like, crushing on. Because, like, she tried to push up on Owen when Owen was, and he wanted nothing to do with Cordelia. He was all about Buffy. Angel's all about Buffy. So a lot of times, Cordy's the one that does not end up being the Slayer when it comes to dating guys that love Buffy. So. Yeah. I mean, she moves on. I think
it's the whole like queen bee dynamic, though. She's used to everybody just like flocking to her, so that's why Buffy's a threat. Because all of a sudden, what do you mean this guy is not hanging all over me? Who's this blonde chick that's doing it? So it's ego, and it's frustrating to her because Buffy's sort of coming in and being the usurper without even trying at times. So.
It's really it's kind of interesting to me that you have this dynamic because Cordy in so many ways is who Buffy used to be. The popular girl, the cheerleader, everything. But Cordy is so, I mean, obviously we don't really know what Buffy was like before she became the Slayer. But I sense that maybe she wasn't as mean as Cordy. So I think maybe there is this sort of double, this divided view Buffy has of this, where Cordy is a reminder of who she used to be and who in some ways she would still like to be rather than being the Slayer.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, because there's a lot less responsibility to just be like vacuous and shopping and stuff.
But at the same time she also sees the mean side of Cordy and that she doesn't want to be like that. So Cordy is kind of a double... Yeah, no, Cordy's sort of a double-edged sword for Buffy emotionally, in that sense.
Yeah, it's there by the grace of God go I.
I think Buffy wants to be like Cordelia in terms of being able to just sort of exist and shop and have friends and be a little more popular and maybe a cheerleader. I definitely don't think she wants to be mean to other human beings.
Yeah, no, I mean, she wants to be able to, take the time on her appearance. She doesn't want to have blood on her clothing or, messed up hair because she's been fighting. She wants to be able to go shopping. She wants to be able to hang out with her friends and date. She wants Cordelia's normal life. I say Buffy can be pretty fucking mean sometimes, so...
Yeah, she
can be. She can be.
Yeah.
Not delightfully so like Cordelia. She just ends up saying stupid, mean things. It seems like Cordelia versus Buffy. I mean, I know when her parents were together, Buffy's parents were together, they probably had more money, and Joyce was not a single mom and having to worry about those things. Cordy is, but I don't think she was at the level of wealth as Cordy and her family. So Cordy's not only like the queen bee, she's also the richest girl in school. Mm-hmm. She owns Todd Oldham dresses, so there's some difference there.
For now.
Yes.
For now. So
dun dun dun.
So since we went on to the topic of outfits a little bit, when we get into the next scene with Willow and Xander and Buffy, the outfit that Willow's wearing, they actually turned that into a toy by More Action Collectibles, which is such a random one because it's a really cute outfit. I really
thank you. You and I do share a brain because I was like, you could get away with wearing that outfit today. It's the present blouse and the the jeans with the little. It's so cute. I would totally wear that outfit.
Yeah, actually, surprisingly, this episode, well, maybe not surprisingly, because this has got some pretty iconic looks in it, but they did a couple of toys from this episode, but this is the first one that turns up. But then they also do Army Xander, and Diamond Select Toys also did Willow in her Halloween costume.
But they never did a Buffy in her Halloween costume.
They never did Buffy, no.
I would have loved that.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
That is a very popular one to do a custom of. That and every outfit from Once More with Feeling.
I just want to point out that this is a major thing here. I hope you're all sitting down. I have a fashion note.
Ooh.
What?
Yeah.
Do tell.
Like, is Buffy wearing plaid pants in this episode?
Yes, she is.
Oh God,
it's
why?
The 90s.
God.
It's the 90s.
Because it was the 90s.
I was gonna say, I remember those being very in vogue, especially like the cropped like pants, plaid pants at that time with the big platform shoe thing, or at least clunky heeled shoe things. So,
oh my god,
those very in vogue. Then.
But this
those
is
clunky
just
heels
this...
are back now, and I'm so happy about it. I just bought
Oh,
a
I
pair.
know.
It's like, oh my god, it's the 90s, and I love it.
Well, they're easier to wear.
Yes.
I can only wear chunky heels, so I've got to go out and like buy new shoes and stuff because stilettos kill my feet. I can't wear anything like that. But now I can have height again. Yay!
But Buffy's sort of wearing just this like plaid pants that look like, I don't know, they're like this loose, ill-fitting, like
Yeah, it's the 90s.
like it's like sweatpants almost. And I'm like, really? You wear I am not the fashion plate here. So maybe in the 90s this was a thing.
It was
definitely a
it
thing.
totally was, yeah.
Okay,
that sort
but
of...
it jumped out at me.
Yeah, it's like...
They're sort of not quite punk pants, but they're like the ones that Peter Capaldi even was wearing on various episodes of Doctor Who. They're just sort of those. Like,
They look different on him.
well, yes,
They're the same
they're
pants.
more flattering.
They're the
They
same
look
pants
amazing
that
on
Sarah
him.
wore. That's why they look better on Peter Capaldi. Sorry.
Everything looks better on Peter Capaldi. I'm sorry, I'm in love with Peter Capaldi, so there's that.
You and me both, baby.
Yeah.
So in this scene, we're also introduced to the idea that Halloween is a day that vampires are just like not going out. So like
It's a religious holiday, I think. They're just like, we
No,
don't do
it's
anything today. We sit at home.
they feel like it's become too commercialized or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, they don't actually ever explain it.
no, they don't. I had wanted to like look up about All Saints Eve or Halloween,
Samhain.
all the different kind of.
Oh, I know a
Samhain.
lot about that.
To see if there was like a reason why and they might have put that in. I think they might have just done it because it's like we're gonna be different.
Yeah, I think so, because there's absolutely nothing that I know from folklore or paganism or anything like that ever said, well, on Halloween Eve, usually the spirits are out.
Yeah.
The walls between the worlds are supposed to be the thinnest at that point, so maybe the vampires just like, you know what, we don't feel like dealing. We're just going to stay home tonight. Netflix and chill.
Yeah, I mean, they do say it's vampires, like, that aren't into it. So, I mean, maybe it's just, like, that there's other creatures that are just like, okay, this is going to be our thing, and the vampires are like, okay, you do your thing, and we'll do our stuff, the other 364 days of the year.
But then why would Giles tell Buffy you don't have to patrol tonight if there are other creatures?
I
out
don't
there?
know,
I don't
because they're making Halloween not a big deal. And then every time Halloween comes around, something happens. So,
Yeah, that
in
is
the
right.
Buffyverse. But, I mean, in this case, it's because Spike's not into ritual. So why would he stay home when he could go out and wreak havoc, whereas the Master would have stayed home because it's Halloween?
I guess, what is it, season 6 all the way? Spike actually, like, reams out a couple, the young vampires for going out on Halloween, because they're just, and they're all like, we're rebels, and Spike's like, no, I'm a rebel, you're just, idiots.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so Spike actually does take it really seriously. I think this time is only different because of Drusilla's vision. Which,
True, that's right. Drew does have a vision.
Yeah.
That's why he goes out.
Yeah. But also in this scene, we're introduced to Larry.
Yes.
Who
Yay!
I love.
Who at the time I hated, because, come on, he was so gross, but...
Yeah, that is true. But
Yeah.
by phases, I love him.
They
I love Larry.
They do overplay him a bit here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also in the scene, I just want to say, does anything date this scene more than the fact that Xander can actually use pocket change to buy a soda? And also, I want to note there is no Diet Dr. Pepper button on that machine, and Buffy gets a
Oh.
Diet Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
That's how hard
missed
she
that.
hit it. Diet Dr. Pepper came out. Yeah. I mean, I'm so conflicted with this scene with Larry and Xander because I'm still to this day a Larry and Xander shipper, but it's so much fucking toxic masculinity.
Oh, I see. That's half
Oh,
my notes
totally.
are toxic masculinity. Xander, fuck you, toxic masculinity. And it made me enjoy this episode a lot. Like, I used to love this episode. I watched it all the time. But in the last couple of years, on my last couple of rewatches, I've been like, yeah, I don't love this. But I still like this episode a great deal. But I don't love it the way I used to.
Yeah, but, Xander's plotline in this whole episode is all about toxic masculinity. And it's we're supposed to be happy at the end. That he's reached his resolution by finally being able to, become a man.
Right.
But it's like, oh, God, this is so gross.
I mean, even Willow, she's like, boys are so fragile.
Yes.
She says that. Now, then at first she says, oh, poor Xander, boys are so fragile. No, poor Xander, boys are so fragile. And we're not talking about men like you, David.
That line stood out to me, especially, considering other things we've been talking about. There's been a lot of that, noticing male fragility out in the world. So it just seemed like, things haven't changed much in 20 years.
No, they really haven't.
Yeah. But speaking of Willow, I mean, we haven't gotten there yet, but this is the episode where Willow gets to take charge for the first time.
She's great in this episode.
And this is going to be, we're going to get there, and that's going to be terrific.
Yeah, we will talk about that more later on. But yes, this episode is definitely, I think, this is where Willow changes from season 1 Willow into the Willow that we'll see later on in the show.
This is
she's finally
Willow.
She is no longer kind of the wallflower. She's willing to take charge and actually get things done.
Mm-hmm.
And she looks really hot.
Okay, we everything in order. The next thing is Willow and Buffy with their subterfuge with Giles, because they
was like, as I was saying earlier, this is like one of those episodes where this is like, to me, quintessential Buffy, because you've got like all this horror stuff going on, then you have this wonderful, wonderful comedy scene, and just like physical comedy and like just looks, and that whole scene just works so beautifully, like for everybody. It's directed well, it's shot well, it's cut well. It's just, everybody is like on point there. Yeah.
I mean,
it's great.
Jenny is not even in this episode, and still I was shipping it so hard in this episode.
Oh,
It's like, look at how adorable Giles is when he's like,
and Giles'
babe.
hobby is cross-referencing. It's like his relaxing hobby is cross-referencing.
Hey, cross-referencing for the win.
It is a great scene. Well, I love Buffy's line there. She's like, do you stuff your own shirts or do you have them sent out? Like, it's great. It's a great line and it's a great interaction. Pretty smart of Buffy to, like, turn it on, like, Miss Calendar said. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a hunka burning something.
Something.
Yes.
Well, yes, he
Hunka
is.
burning Giles, yes.
I mean, he totally is, yes. Though I found his sweater or whatever in that scene to be really odd. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's because he's not wearing the tweed jacket, but it was very light colored and it just kind of threw me.
Yeah, they put him in some Mr. Rogers sweaters every now and then in this first and second season. You're like, yeah, that's not Giles. It's like Angel in his beige coat. You're like, what?
Yeah.
No. But yeah, and I love that we get to see two totally different sides of Giles in this episode, which I think is going to make and we'll get to it later, but it's such a great contrast that you see nebbish, cross-referencing, like, adorably clueless Giles, and just in like 20-30 minutes, you're going to get a totally different dude.
When you were saying cross-referencing, I initially thought you were going to say cross-dressing and
Tony had
mental images of Tony as Frankenfurter.
I will.
This is not a bad thing.
I will make sure when this episode airs that I put up a picture of Tony dressed as Frankenfurter.
He looked great.
On our Facebook page, because he's
we should do that.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, the other thing I was going to say is, I mean, in a way, I remember when I first saw this, I mean, just that whole, and I didn't actually know about the Ripper thing, even though I think it was discussed. I mean, I think that was when I was watching, that was around the time where they were talking about doing the spin-off. Mm-hmm. But when you don't know this is going to happen, and all of a sudden it does happen later, it's like, it's such a beautiful, like, juxtaposition, because it really comes out of nowhere.
It's totally out of nowhere, yeah.
And it's awesome. And when I was watching it again, I was saying, God, I really wish I didn't know this, because that's such a great surprise.
Oh, it was an amazing surprise.
Yeah, no, I remember at the time being, like, super surprised, because it's like, oh my God, they know each other. What's Ripper? Oh my God, what's going on?
Wait, he just decked him. Oh, he's so hot. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a huge surprise. So
we'll go back to that.
The book. that
the book.
Willow and Buffy stole from. First of all, they're like, "Who is she? I don't know. It doesn't have a name on it. It totally
Her name is
fucking
right
does.
there.
It says Sarah Goodbrain. Yeah,
I am.
Right.
That really pissed me off. I was like, "Who is she?" It doesn't say. Yes, it does. It's
yeah,
right
it was
there.
Yep, right there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That is very, very silly. I like Care Bear with fangs. Oh, that's what
I love
Cordy
that
comes in,
too.
but
Yeah, that's like my favorite name for Angel. Well, no,
Yeah,
actually,
me
that's
too.
not true because like Lauren has some great ones. So,
Well, yeah, everything Lauren says
Yes.
is gold. So,
well, yes.
Um,
And he calls Angel pastries. So.
Oh, also bit of
Yeah,
math
that's-
here. If Angel was 18 in 1775, that means he would have been born in 1757. I haven't gone into detail researching this, but the Buffyverse wiki says that he was born 30 years earlier than that.
yeah, the math
they
is
never
all
agree on how
wrong.
old Angel is.
Yeah, it's. I
Yeah,
mean, this may just be an issue of we haven't actually nailed this down yet, and it winds up being wrong. But it's a very specific reference.
Yeah. Well, remember how that Spike is barely 200?
Oh, yeah.
You know, at
Yeah,
100 and something.
And you're like,
Maybe
he's
vampires
not
are
even
really, really bad at
200. He's
math.
not even close to 200. Yeah.
It's almost like with the Doctor on Doctor Who, and it's just like they throw out random dates where it's just like, this sounds kind of old.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it works, I think, a little bit better there because of wibbly wobbly, timey wimey stuff. You're like, okay, which Doctor, what era, you know.
right.
But on this, I'm like, dude, you needed a show Bible. I keep saying this like every third episode that we do. Y'all needed a show Bible to keep track of
Either
this
that or
stuff,
they
but-
needed somebody who was just like continuity expert.
Yeah, the
So that
continuity
later
expert.
on they would just say, like, basically, show Bible in their head, and like, no, it's not because you said this and that, so therefore it can't be, it's got to be this date, not that date. But.
I'm
Yeah,
still waiting
for
for
sure.
someone to actually make that a real job so they can hire me.
Oh my god.
There are
yeah.
TV
Same.
shows that have like continuity experts that are basically
Yeah.
in charge of coming in.
Yeah, somebody. I
reading
know
the
Game of
script.
Thrones actually does have somebody.
Star Wars has
Yes,
somebody who does
they
that.
actually have an official. So anyone writing
yeah.
in any media in Star Wars, or the novels or the comic books or a toy, they actually have to run it through the department that does the continuity check on it.
Yeah.
But this is also Star Wars universe, which was not made on the fly for the WB in 1998. So,
And also, I mean, it's taken them like 40 years or whatever to actually get to that point because Star Wars continuity was a fucking
it was
mess.
crazy, right?
That's why they had to chuck it all out and start over again.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's another podcast. It's called The Trash Compactor, and hopefully we'll have another episode.
Go listen to it. It's great. I'm plugging my friend's podcast. But yeah, I don't, and obviously this episode doesn't pass the Bechdel test again because the girls just talk about boys, which I guess at this point I'm sort of like, that's what 16-year-old girls do. I get it.
Well, I mean, the conversation about Willow's costume, that wasn't really about boys.
It wasn't.
I mean,
it was.
that was more
but it
about
bothered
just Willow
me.
being comfortable in her own skin.
Yeah, but it sort of also led to the people that she wants to notice her are boys. So it's sort of like a subtextual thing that, well, we will make, you're sort of being invisible, you're hiding yourself and you're not hot, even though you are. And then it kind of like pays off at the end, but it's still subtextually, it's boys, not just people in
Well,
general.
and I was really kind of ticked off at Buffy during that, which is the next scene after the Watcher Diary. And I'm like, can you let your friend make her own choices about her level of comfortability with wearing something? Like, if her boo is what makes her comfortable, then don't pressure her, Buffy.
Yeah.
Though I do have to say that was a fucking terrible costume.
Oh,
It
yes.
is a terrible
But the boo,
costume,
yeah.
but, we support
It's
our
awful.
friends' comfort levels.
Well, yes. No, I mean, yeah,
I was uncomfortable
This is-
with Buffy pressuring Willow.
yeah.
I mean, there would have been like a certain amount I probably would have gotten by with, but she really just keeps pushing it.
She was pushing really hard
Yeah.
on that. Yeah, I do agree.
And it's also, considering she goes from like 0 to 60, they're also, if you sort of like do it in stages, if somebody's like uncomfortable with things, you don't just go from like, boo to bare midriffs or something.
Yeah.
She didn't point out anything in the story either. It's like, well, maybe this would be better. Or, you could try this.
Yeah.
It was just like, you can't do this.
Yeah.
It's like, it's Halloween. It's like, it's the stereotype. It's Halloween. It's time to be slutty.
I was going to say, that pisses me off because that's the thing now that, when you look at women's Halloween costumes, everything is slutty, fill in the blank for women.
And there is a big backlash against that now.
Exactly, which is good.
Now, I'm not going to lie. Around this time in my life, Halloween meant I could wear as little clothing as I wanted and totally get away with it, and I loved it.
It made me think of the scene from Mean Girls where it's just like wearing lingerie with animal ears.
Right, for sure. And I mean, my costumes were a little more creative than that, but I lived in Las Cruces, New Mexico, which at Halloween time, it's 75 degrees out. It's 80 degrees out. It's even hotter than it is in Albuquerque, where I'm from. So wearing a skimpy costume was like easy to do because you're going to go to a party in the desert when it was 75 degrees out at night. So not going to lie, I did it.
Yeah, I was in New York, upstate New York, and Chicago, and so by October, the end of October, it's actually, especially in Chicago and upstate New York, it's freaking cold. So you have to sort of wear more layers. You can't.
So,
well, for Halloween, I've never done a skimpy costume. For some conventions, I have done skimpier. I did, and I know some of you have actually seen this costume, my Sailor Who costume, which is a Sailor Moon type costume, but the skirt is like super short on that one, and I've been like self-conscious while wearing that. And I've also done is anybody familiar with Cowboy Bebop, the anime?
Mm-hmm. I know it, but I don't know the
I
character.
did the character Faye Valentine
my
from that,
God.
which is basically short yellow shorts and short little crop top, and that's kind of it.
Yeah, pretty much. My favorite, since I'll ask about our favorite Halloween or cosplay costumes now, I guess. My favorite is a group of my friends and I went as hoary storybook characters. So I was Little Red Riding Ho. Little Ho Peep, Sleeping Booty, and there was another one, Alice in Hobagland? I don't know.
Oh, God.
Anyway, and so my friend made us all our costumes.
Oh,
and
that's wonderful.
he made mine where the skirt could be rolled up to get it really short. But when I had to dress up for work for the which had kids and bobbing apples and stuff at a apartment I was managing, it would go down to my knees and I could put a full shirt on under the bustier. So it wasn't, I still have it. And it was me and 3 drag queens.
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah,
it was like, we had a whole set and I was the only bio woman in the group. So that was my favorite. So if you're listening, Brad, because I know you do, we were adorable in those costumes.
I just want to point out, Snyder would be very disappointed in you because you went bobbing for apples.
I know. Sorry, Snyder.
I guess since we're having costume confessions here, I never did anything, I can't think of anything that raunchy that I did for Halloween. But when I was in college, I actually it was sort of a Mad Max-esque meets Adam and the Ants type costume. I actually had like a leather halter that my then boyfriend bought for me at the local Ren Fair. So it was like almost backless and very low cut. But then I had like black leather pants and black boots and did like funky stuff with my hair and war paint and stuff.
So
But
David,
it was kind of my character for a while.
Yes.
what was your funnest Halloween costume?
Yeah, let's hear. What's your skimpiest Halloween costume?
I honestly, I don't even remember the last time I wore a Halloween costume. I mean, I haven't done it since I was a kid. Generally, people tell me, "Oh, it's a costume party," and I come up with some concept that allows me to do as little work as humanly
Kind of
possible.
like Oz's,
So you're like Xander.
like Oz's costume in the
the
next Halloween
In
episode.
Fear itself.
I love
Yeah.
So which we'll
Oz's
get
costume.
to in a year
But,
or
yes.
so.
But no, I mean, like one time I put some tape on my glasses, got a pocket protector, and went as someone geekier even than me. And yeah, that was that was my entire costume.
You're like Xander. You're the $2 costume
Yeah.
king, baby.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, I will say my partner, my fiance, is not huge on wearing costumes. So when we go places or to cons and stuff, we just tell everyone he's cosplaying as Mystique.
Nice.
Excellent. Actually, I once got to go to a party that was a Dave party. Everyone had to come as someone named Dave. And if you were named Dave, you had to come as yourself. And I was in heaven for a costume party because I'm like, whatever I wear is my costume.
You would have to be the most Dave you could be, like put on your most Dave outfit, like your classic whatever. No,
I just had to put on whatever I would wear because I'm Dave.
Nice, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So
I am a bit confused. I mean, I know he has to do it for the plot, but why does Xander buy his gun at a costume shop? Why doesn't he just go to the fucking dollar store?
I don't know, because
That's
he's
a good
with the
question.
girls and they're out and the plot.
Yeah, it was just all plot driven. Because you would go to Toys R Us or the dollar store, and buy like a cheap plastic gun for a buck.
Yeah, I would go to Dollarama and just like, I mean, I go to Dollarama to pick up guns now, but I mean, I don't use them like in the form they're in. Of course,
them.
Yes.
I have many.
And also, I made like a weird little note just about Xander in general that I felt like he was purposely trying to like channel Bruce Campbell, like Ash from The Evil Dead through the whole thing.
Well, if you're gonna go for like a badass guy, then yeah,
Pretty much.
Yeah, definitely.
Like,
But it was just like one of those things where I'm like, I think he's really trying to be Ash here, like the whole way through. It's just like he was channeling Bruce Campbell.
I am now really disappointed he did not refer to his gun as his boomstick.
Boomstick.
That is
My boomstick.
that'd be a great way for him to refer to it to Lady Buffy. So
Yes.
Right, and I'm sure, knowing Xander, he loves the Evil Dead franchise.
oh yeah.
So we get Ethan.
Yes,
We get
Ethan.
They're in the costume shop and we
Yay!
get Ethan.
Oh,
And
the
Ethan's
late
lovely.
lamented Robin Sachs.
I know, we miss him. He was lovely. And we don't know anything about him, except the way it's filmed and the way he's talking. You're like, something's up with that guy.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's definitely...
Right, especially when he's suddenly like, oh, here's this dress that you totally can't afford, but you're cute, so, I'll totally find a way to make it for you, because you need this dress,
Yeah.
dun dun dun.
I was kind of wondering, does he know Buffy is the
Oh,
Slayer?
I'm sure he does.
Yeah, because I mean, I feel like he oh, here is this. Take this costume that'll turn you into someone completely helpless, so that you can't ruin my plan. Even though I don't have a plan past things being chaotic.
I mean, he knows
just-
that Giles is in Sunnydale, so I have no doubt that Ethan knows that is Buffy.
Yeah.
And that's who she is. And if she looked at some other beautiful or otherwise something costume, he would have pushed that on her too, or given her the discount, regardless of what she was staring at. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because he knows that Giles is a watcher. I mean, he says it later. So even if he didn't know 100% that Buffy was the Slayer, I think he would have at least seen her with Giles. I mean, he knows things. So.
Yeah. And also,
he
he's
does.
obviously
He totally does.
evil because his name is Ethan. And come on, like, that's such a bad guy name.
Okay, I guess I missed that. My friend's nephew is an Ethan, and he was always like a sweet kid. So
my
I've
friend's
never known
son
an
is
evil
and he's
Ethan.
really sweet. Yeah, every Ethan I know in real life is really sweet.
My brother's named Ethan. So.
Oh, well.
Well, that explains it. They're all
Well, and we're
evil
not
then.
going to ask you if he's sweet or not because he's your brother. So, like, sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Yes, exactly.
With
No, but I mean,
brother-sister
actually,
relationships.
in terms of, like, name conventions on TV, like, Ethan Rayne,
Oh,
that
Oh,
sounds
that's
like
such
an
an
evil
evil
Ethan
guy.
Rayne is definitely evil. Yeah.
Yeah. Ethan Rayne. Sorry, I just had
Yeah.
there's this a radio series that I know Emcee and I both listen to called Cabin Pressure, and that's a nice people with evil sounding names was one of the games that they played on that. So definitely Ethan Rayne. Definitely
yes,
Ethan Rayne.
definitely is an evil
Yeah, and just as
sounding
an
name.
aside, when I saw this, I knew him because he was a regular character on Babylon 5.
Ah.
Even though he was always under, like,
Oh,
latex.
ton of
'cause
makeup, yeah.
He was one of them in Bari more than once, so he was kind of a...
He also
returning
played the main bad guy in Galaxy Quest.
Right.
What?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that movie like a bazillion times.
Yep. That's him.
that's
He
Robin
was
Sachs
Sarah's.
under there.
Oh, he's under the makeup. Okay, gotcha. No
Yeah.
wonder. Okay, which is
Yeah,
why
like I said,
he's
in Babylon 5, he was almost always covered, too,
Mhm.
because he was in Bari with the head wig.
he's a very attractive man. Why do you want to cover him up?
Because he's got a really nice voice,
He
and I
does.
think
Yeah.
he resonated even under latex.
Under latex,
and,
so,
he was able
yeah.
to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, and there are some actors who are better at acting underneath all of that latex. I mean, that comes up later when we get I can't remember the guy's
Camden
name now.
Toy?
Camden Toy, yes.
And the amazing Doug Jones.
And Doug Jones, the actors who are just a lot better at or not a lot better, but that are quite good at doing body acting as opposed to facial acting or exaggerated acting with their face so that the latex won't interfere so that they can still emote.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I mean, somebody like Andreas Katsoulis, who was on Babylon 5, but he was also, he was the Tomalak on Star Trek Next Generation. So he was the same kind of thing where he had a very resonant voice and he was able to act with the body and not just the face under all the prosthetics. So,
yeah.
So, since we're there, should we talk about the dress?
We can talk about the dress.
Thoughts on the dress?
My first reaction to it is, oh my god, it's Aurora's pink dress from Sleeping Beauty. It's totally a Disney princess dress. It is not anything remotely historically accurate.
It's so not historically accurate, I think. But I also, every time I see this episode, because this is around the time I was taking my history of fashion class, which was required for my theater major, and our teacher, who was amazing, taught it as a social history. Like, look at the spires and this architecture and how in 20 years this is going to be reflected in clothing. So it was super like, that is not. But then I realized this time through, I was like, but how many costumes you get from a costume shop for Halloween are historically accurate? They're just not.
Yeah.
Like, they're just not. And that's fine. Like, if I go and rent a costume from our local costume shop, I don't expect it to be perfect. So
I didn't either, but to me it's like it's not even like trying to be anything like, you know, from 1775. It just totally like screamed Disney princess. There's nothing wrong with it, but the fact that Buffy is like thinking, oh, I want to be somebody from Angel's time and I want to be, you know, all historical, and then it's like this hot pink Barbie pink gown, you know, and stuff. It just was like, okay, you want to be a princess, and that's okay.
I think there's an episode where Buffy says to someone, which boy was it, that she's just not into history, she's more into the now.
Yeah.
Which guy does she say that to? I can't remember. So yeah, I mean, she wants to be a Disney princess, and the wig is terrible. Not the one that comes with the costume, because that's a dumb costume wig. But the one where she actually turns into the lady and all of a sudden her hair is long and not a good wig.
Yeah, and that actually baffled me, because I'm like, well, if she's turning into this thing and her hair was up, why wouldn't her hair stay up since it's all magic anyway? All of a sudden now she's got like the Cher wig on her head.
You believe in life after love. But Cynthia Bergstrom, the costume designer, did say this was her very favorite episode.
Yes.
That she ever did.
Well, she probably had a lot of fun with it, and that's really...
Well, I mean, you also have Cordy's costume, and I'm not gonna lie, Xander's arms in that tank top are pretty
Holy
great.
shit,
I was
man.
like,
yes.
what?
You know that's why they made him take the jacket off, just
He
so she
looks
could show
really
off that
good.
physique.
He looks really good. And Willow
And
looks,
also, so that David can contribute to
right.
this.
David, would you like to talk about Willow's costume under the boo now?
Oh, Willow looks great. I love Willow. You know I love Willow.
Well, no, I mean, we just thought that you might, because, I mean, I will fucking say this, Allie Hannigan has gorgeous abs.
Oh, it's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I hate her.
She looks so beautiful there. The only thing is, like, when Giles says, you know, Giles' line later about the ghost of what, I'm just like, well, you know, maybe she should have just said I'm cosplaying Buffy. But that would have saved the entire episode, because then she would have turned into the Slayer and been like, you know, kicking everybody's ass.
It is a very good question, though. Though, according to the script, Willow's costume was hot rocker chick. Which I think is nice. I think is nice foreshadowing for her and Oz hooking up. So
yeah, because nobody ever says what the hell she's supposed to be. It's just all of a sudden she comes out and she looks amazing.
Yeah,
but it's like, it's Halloween. You're supposed to be dressing up and being somebody else, but she's just wearing a crop top and
she's
a mini skirt, and her
wearing,
hair's up and her makeup is on.
She's wearing clothes from Buffy's closet. This isn't a costume.
Yeah, exactly.
She's just wearing the stuff that Buffy had in her closet. That was the.
So they should have said, "I'm dressed up as Buffy." That would have been. I mean, you know, that would have been okay.
I would read that fanfic.
Yeah,
I think I've read that fanfic.
Does Buffy actually wear anything even remotely like that throughout the series?
No, she doesn't.
Okay.
No, never.
I mean, maybe she put together different things that she would never pair together to make it more...
Possibly.
I don't know, whatever. But it's obviously from Buffy's closet.
Okay.
But because she had the boo over her costume, it turned her into the Boo.
Well, yeah, I know. Yeah, but it's one of those things where it's just like, but what was she supposed to be again? And but it's also the other thing that struck my mind at the time is it's, you know, the old trope of like suddenly, you know, the woman takes off her glasses and she shakes out her hair and it's, oh my God, Miss Jones, you're beautiful. And it was like, that's kind of like, that's Willow's moment.
That's basically Willow's moment, right?
Which is awesome.
Which nobody sees really but Oz and Giles.
But it's important that Oz does see it because who is that girl?
Yeah. And also, I mean, it's great that Oz's reaction to Willow in that outfit is exactly the same reaction as Oz's reaction to her
in
in
an Eskimo costume.
the Eskimo
right.
costume.
Yes.
So, I also love Oz when he looks at Cordy and goes, "You're like a great big cat."
And she goes, "That's just my costume."
Right.
I love every single
Can
line.
we talk about how awesome Oz is all the way through?
Yes.
I mean, like the whole thing with him and Cordy and the, you know, have you seen Mr. I haven't even blah blah blah. And he's like, no, I think his name is Devin
He's
now.
going by
just like,
Devin
he's
now,
so
yeah.
good at the dry one-liners.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
I don't know that I approve of his guitar, but other than that, he's fantastic.
Okay, tell us what's wrong with his guitar.
I think
I don't even remember what he was playing.
I
so.
think those
or
I
holding.
think those pickups don't go well on that guitar. That's all.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we don't see him play it, so maybe it sounds great. I don't know, but we just see
Yeah.
him putting it in the case. So
Yeah, I mean, like, as we're going through the episode, there are a couple of moments I really love, sort of, as they're transitioning from the costume shop, which is one is the thing about being a big cat, and then Xander's speech about sleazing extra candy and how to do it, and that, like, military voice
Yes.
is... Which makes me, I always feel so conflicted about Xander, because he's this whole episode, I'm so infuriated at him, and then he says something like, it's just so cute. And I just...
Yeah, well, I think when we were talking about toxic masculinity, but I think when he's with the kids, it doesn't really come off that way to me. It's like, even though he's kind of being like drill sergeant-y, you know, or cub leader-ish, somehow it works with the kids because it's a funny thing as compared, and he's teaching them how to scam candy. It's not like, you know, you're not gonna, you know, do this, you're not gonna do that, and you're gonna be mean to girls. It's just, it's a cute moment, and it fits much more than anything else.
he's essentially just being a slightly older kid.
Which he is.
Like,
which he is.
He's like, okay, I've been through this, and here's what you're going to do because I've done this.
It's a
but
cute
I am
little
like a
speech.
year older than you.
Right. You know, here's the other thing that I noticed. Military Xander, memory loss Xander, has no problem taking orders from women and deferring to women throughout the middle part of this episode. He does what Willow tells him. He actually takes shit from Cordy pretty well without... So what's interesting is when he loses his memory and becomes macho military guy, he has no problem sort of following the chain of Willow's command.
Mm-hmm.
Just to take a trip back to Buffy fandom in 1997. Yeah, this was 97.
Do we need a time displacement sound effect here?
But there were so many fanfics all about Xander and turning into the military guy. And even before Innocence, everybody was saying online that he still remembered the military training. Like, it was like this whole subgenre of Halloween fics that came out. Mostly about Xander and, you know, becoming the military man, because Xander at the time was super huge. But there was also a bunch of fics where it was like, what if Buffy dressed up like this? And I do
What if
remember
Buffy
one
dressed
that
up
was
as Xena?
Yes, I did read one. There was Buffy dressed up as Xena.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, oh, the other thing I was going to say, I'm going to put a picture on our Facebook page. Also, as you're listening to this episode, I actually have a dress, and I know I showed the rest of you guys off microphone of the dress that I wore that is about 100 years off, but looks remarkably like the Buffy dress, and is from a production of Tartuffe. So you can see what I looked like around the time that this episode came out.
And you looked awesome.
It was an amazing dress. Cost about $3,000. It was someone's senior thesis. So I will put that on our Facebook as well.
Okay.
I'll put that and pictures of Tony had dressed as Frankenfurter. So that I will definitely
I remember
do that.
So, by the way, about, you know, the whole taking out the kids, maybe it's just Snyder isn't very thoughtful about these things, but it's sort of like he gives this whole speech about how he doesn't want Buffy talking to the children because he doesn't want them influenced by her because she's a bad influence. Why then does he force her to take the kids out?
Because he's Snyder, and he's not very helpful.
Okay.
Snyder, it makes no sense, and he's just an idiot.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, I'm going to make
guess.
you do a thing, but then I'm going to... Yeah, it's just... Snyder's very contradictory, so I love it.
I think the thing is, Snyder hates children, so putting Buffy with children is a punishment.
Right.
So.
Good point. Yeah, no, he does not like... He certainly doesn't... we know he hates students.
And I'm also fairly certain that somebody who looked like Buffy when Snyder was in high school turned him down for the prom.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. I also think he thinks that she's a demon.
Possibly,
Like,
yeah.
my headcanon always has been that, you know, because he's in league with the mayor and he does know about some of the supernatural elements, you know, even we're not going to get the mayor for like a year, but he's still the mayor and he still knows what's going on in Sunnydale. So I'm sure there are orders to sort of watch this girl. Mm-hmm. And Snyder doesn't know why, so he thinks she's a demon.
Right. Oh, because also Snyder knows there's supernatural stuff going on. We saw that back in School Hard, where he's making excuses and kind of cleaning stuff up. So so he's aware that there's something off about her and there's weird shit going on. Mm-hmm. So yes, definitely. I was going to say Armin Shimmerman appreciation here. I just like, again, he sells it so well. He's like, you want to smack him up so badly, but he's great at it.
One of the things that I noted for this episode is you can definitely tell this is pre-Columbine Massacre. Because there is no way Xander would be, 1, allowed to bring a fake gun in school, or 2, allowed to point it at another student. Like, that shit could get you expelled now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And frankly, when he does turn into military guy, I am convinced a bunch of people got shot that night. But
I'm
before
sure.
Willow got to him and said, no more shooting. It's like, I am convinced there are a lot of people lying around with major bullet wounds.
There are small children.
Yeah.
Lying
God,
around
let's
dead.
please not think about this.
Yeah, like we're just gonna wave that away. But I was like, do we want to talk about Buffy and the helplessness?
I'm not bothered by it, just because it's like, this is like the one episode where we do get Buffy, like, pretty helpless. I mean, I guess in the episode Helpless, she's obviously kind of helpless,
right.
But, I mean, it's such a, counter to the way Buffy usually is, that, like, I was gonna say that the act break where Willow's like, Buffy, what are we gonna do? And Buffy just faints. That's a fucking great act break.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it totally
And
is.
also, Buffy cowering and clinging onto Cordelia. It's also counterbalanced by the fact that Willow is really taking charge, and Cordelia is also, like, not really shying away from things.
Right.
Well, I take it as a plot point. I mean, it's one of the things where this is the whole point of the story, so therefore it has to be done. From a historical point of view, it frustrates me because obviously all women back then certainly were not, just little shrinking violets and always needing their fainting couches and this and that. But I think it's sort of like become what you're wearing, and because it's the sort of like Disney princess fake whatever is in Buffy's head, so that's how it is. So I accept it, but it's frustrating.
Oh, I didn't mean let's talk about that in terms of like, feminist content, which is what I usually talk about. I just meant like, Sarah, I find, is usually really funny, and this time around, I was like...
It fell flat.
It fell flat.
I agree.
And what accent is she trying to do?
I was going to ask somebody that, because I have no idea.
French? Is she English? Is she like...
Is she Southern?
Is she Southern? And she's like...
David Boreanaz is her accent coach.
Well, that explains everything. There you go.
No, I remember thinking, it's like, wow, Sarah is really not... And because I was thinking, everyone else is doing a great job, and Sarah's not up to snuff this week. Like, why in that section? So I'm like,
I don't. It's not like the worst piece of acting I've ever seen. She's
no,
fun and it's cute, but it's odd. Even though she's the lead, I don't always see Buffy as the straight man. In the comedy, a lot of it is very. I mean, a lot of Xander gets a lot of it, but Buffy is punny and witty, and so it was a weird misstep in performance, which usually means a weird misstep in writing or directing. Or now, I do love Sarah Michelle Gellar with dark hair.
She looks really
she's
great.
beautiful.
That's why I like the costume wig. I mean, you know, it was a little cheesy, but it actually looked really
Oh
awesome.
yeah, the costume wig is cheesy because it's supposed to be. It's a costume wig, but yeah,
Yeah, but
it's
the
really,
color and
the
everything,
color was,
it just-
I mean, that's closer
she
to
looked great.
Sarah's natural color anyway. But so yeah, I just thought we'd talk about Buffy for a few minutes, check in with her.
Yeah, I was wondering whether like Sarah just like couldn't wrap her head around what she was supposed to do. I mean, it's like a very odd performance from her there.
There's also, I mean, you did mention the writing, and I mean, I do think actually with some of the other stuff that Joss might have, you know, come in and done a rewrite on things, but there's just some lines that are just really clunky, like the whole, I like the man with the musket line. Do you have a musket?
Okay, I like that one though. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I like the line too.
I feel like they were trying way too hard. It's like the writers did not know how to write Buffy as someone other than Buffy, so it's like, let's, you know,
Yeah.
turn her into this little
And again,
mouse.
this guy only wrote the one episode.
Yeah.
And I think it was rewritten heavily by Joss.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because a lot of the jokes felt very... I was surprised to find out that Joss didn't write this, because it feels very Joss-esque in terms of just content and feel and everything. So.
But this is a very solid season 2 episode.
it
kind
is.
of
It's really
getting
good.
things to the point where we're going to see throughout season 2 where Willow is starting to take charge. We get a lot of Xandelia stuff.
I know. And it's building it, and he gives her his jacket. I mean, he's military Xander, doesn't know who he is, but he's very...
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, and that's always that trope. It's like, if you give a girl your jacket, I'm like, it must mean she's cold and needs an extra jacket.
And Cordelia was totally into it. Like,
Oh,
Cordelia
she was
like,
totally
hey.
military
Like,
Xander. She was like...
Well, especially when she saw those arms,
Right.
it was like, oh, wait.
yeah.
Not gonna lie, you know. And I don't feel that pervy because Nikki wasn't actually 16. You know, he was...
Right.
No, he was like 45 or something.
26? 23? 20? I don't know.
And I was going to say, in the midst of all that, too, just a sideline about Cordy again. I love the fact that she wasn't affected by all this, and she's just being like... And everybody actually is sort of like, why isn't she like a cat? It's just like a nice thing that fits in there, because she's completely out of sync with everybody else.
Mhm.
But
So speaking of Cordy not being affected, I noticed we do not see anybody else just walking around in a costume. Everybody we see is transformed. Is Cordy the only person who bought a costume somewhere other than Ethan's?
Maybe Party Town isn't actually in Sunnydale. Maybe it's like she went to LA for the weekend or something.
Okay.
Maybe,
I don't know.
or... I don't know. I mean, maybe those people ran away as fast as they could
Yeah.
and just got out of the way.
Or Xander shot them.
I was even...
Or Xander shot them.
Even the small children, like, do parents usually bring, like, the small children only to, like, a fancy costume shop to buy their Halloween costumes? I don't know, growing up, I never did. My parents went to, like, you know, the local store.
Yeah.
Or,
My mom made
you know,
ours.
the drugstore or something.
Yeah, my mom
Yeah.
made ours.
Or we made those,
My
yeah.
Princess Leia costume. Oh, that's my second favorite costume. My mother, because I had short pixie Dorothy Hamill kind of hair. So my mother took earmuffs
Oh my god, that's so
and
cute.
wrapped... Princess Leia, sorry. And wrapped yarn around earmuffs and made me this dress, you know, that belted, and I was Princess Leia one year.
I've done the
That's
Princess
awesome.
Leia costume as well. And I actually did it for Halloween too.
7, 6
I've never
or
been
7.
Princess Leia.
You know, I think
Well,
it
you
was before Empires, maybe right after Empire. So I
Jan,
was young.
you go to conventions, you can still dress as Princess Leia.
Yeah, I know. That's just making me sad, because when I was in graduate school, my graduate school roommate / best friend at the time was actually a Princess Leia cosplayer, and she was tiny and cute and had all the costumes, and I was always really
Well,
jealous.
now I'm going to start dressing
But anyway.
like General Leia. When I start growing my gray hair
I need to
out,
do
I
that,
wanna
because
dress-
I'm old enough to do
Me
it.
too. So, well, not quite, but...
So
So
Carrie's older than
anyway,
me, but yeah.
Halloween costumes.
anyways, I'd like to talk about Spike a little bit
Okay,
in this episode. I am really surprised when we were watching this episode about how extraneous Spike is to this episode. Like, he turns up in a couple of scenes, but he's really just there because Ethan has no real plan other than, I want to cause chaos, and I don't really care what happens after that. I just want people to be panicked and everything. Mm-hmm. So I guess they felt they needed to have an actual danger in there. But Spike is barely dangerous. He's got like one scene where he's just like, I'm going to be evil and I'm going to kill Buffy.
Yeah, and also just one point that bothered me. It's like when Buffy, Buffy comes back to herself during that scene, and she beats Spike off with what looks like a big wooden staff. Why doesn't she break that in half and stake him?
I know, right? Plot armor. It bugs me so much. I mean, I'm glad Spike didn't die, but I was just like, oh my god, he's just lying there on the ground.
Exactly.
Yeah, logic-wise, it doesn't make any sense that she wouldn't have staked him in that, except that they needed him for more episodes.
Right, and at this point, not that many more episodes, because I don't know if at this point they've decided to keep him or not.
I would think so, because we're a couple episodes off What's My Line? And they were going to kill him in that, but I think after School Hard they had already decided to keep him.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and also we haven't really talked about Drew, and Drew's in there even less, but when she's there, she shines. I mean, she's awesome.
And it's also one of my very favorite Buffy lines is when she's like, "Do you love all of me, the parts that's on the inside?" And he's like, "Eyeballs to entrails." I just love that. I actually had a boyfriend that would say that to me every now and then.
I had a boyfriend that would say that to me too, and that's actually one of the reasons why that line makes me cringe.
Oh, see, my boyfriend was really nice. He's still a good friend of mine, so like it's a nice memory for me. So
it is not for me.
I've never had a Buffy watching boyfriend, so nobody's ever said that to me. So I'm deprived.
He wasn't a Buffy watching boyfriend. He's a boyfriend that watched Buffy with me when I was obsessively watching it in the room. So which is pretty much all my partners is like, well, yes, I will go ahead and sit here while you watch Buffy. Thanks, honey.
And I've just never had a boyfriend, so...
True, and that's okay.
There you go.
Respect that.
Well, thank you.
Okay, but speaking of boyfriends, Giles and Ethan.
I had a point to actually make about Ethan first, just out of curiosity. Does anybody speak Latin? Because I was trying to figure out what in God's name Ethan was saying when he was doing the spell. And the only thing I picked up was carpe noctem, and also something about sanguum. So obviously there's blood and seize the night. I want to find a translation, because it was Janos who was, Janus as in January, the Two-Faced God.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, what the hell are you saying?
I have it. Let me just pull it up.
Well, and then, he, actually it is a god of duality, so at least they didn't, like, take a name of a god or a being from another culture and just, like, totally misrepresent it.
Yeah, I was actually impressed by the fact that A, he was speaking Latin, B, he was a Roman god.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that's what I'm saying. I was wondering what the hell he was saying, because it sounded like
I have the translation. It's Giannis, I call forth your spirit, hear my cause, seize the night for your purpose. Come appear and show us that which is infinite power. The mask is transformed into flesh and blood. Your holy presence curdles the heart. Giannis, take the night.
Ooh, nice.
Good spell.
I have to say,
spell.
I personally didn't associate Janus with chaos, but I looked it up, and apparently he is associated with chaos.
Really?
So they did not actually just grab Janus because he's two-faced, and that would fit with the whole dual personality thing. But no, he is actually associated with chaos, and so so Ethan as a chaos worshiper would pray to Giannis.
Yeah, chaos and duality.
It's excellent, because, I mean, so often on shows, and I'll throw out True Blood, I mean, they the second season of True Blood, they had people worshipping Dionysus, but they turned him into basically Lucifer, and it's like, but that's not who Dionysus is. They're, like, absolutely nothing A to do with B, but they turned him into, like, this evil god and stuff, and as a mythology fan, I was like really
we will get into that when we get to Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered, because fuck that noise. Yeah.
But I mean, we've seen that on Buffy before too.
Oh yeah.
We've
they actually nailed it correctly here.
Yeah, we complained about that.
So this is actually an exception rather than the rule.
Yes,
but they did get it right this time.
So points to them for that.
So we were talking about Giles and Ethan.
Ethan and Giles. Yes. Sorry.
They fucked a lot. Okay, that's just like not even the question.
Like, absolutely.
That's not shipper goggles or anything. I have
no. It's slashy as all get out.
Let's see. English boarding school. Yeah, probably. Yep.
And orgies. That whole,
That
and
is
you know
true.
what, we're going to
Oh, yeah.
get to the Dark Age, and I'm sure we're going to talk about it then. But
Yeah.
they were all doing it.
I'm just saying, like,
Oh,
totally.
even in this episode, it's like they come off as ex-boyfriends.
Oh yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Giles is bisexual. It's canonical. I'm all over that.
Mm-hmm.
Totally fine with that.
Oh, and little nitpicking note: when Willow leaves Ethan's shop for Ethan and Giles, you can hear the door.
Right, yeah.
It's like the sound engineer was not thinking. It's like because Giles tells Willow to leave, and then you hear the sound of the door opening and closing, and it's like, well, obviously since it's set, she didn't actually walk out the door. They had to add that in.
Oh, I missed that. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's always
dear.
been one of the ones you're like, it's like angel breathing. You're like, dude, I heard that door. So, yeah. Total gaff. Total gaff.
Yep.
Yeah.
She also touches things in the store, like with her shoulder and her, like the curtain that they go behind. You can see her move the curtain. So, yeah. Well, hey, but yeah, I mean, at this point in fandom, at this point, watching this episode, we wanted to know so much about what was happening with Giles. Like I was like, I must know.
Oh my god, yes.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't have regular access to the internet.
Yeah, as soon
when
as he
these
calls
were
him Ripper,
airing.
it's like, what is Ripper? Who is Ripper? Why is Ripper?
And I do think I tried to get some information because I didn't have a computer of my own. I had to go to the computer lab at school in order to, use a computer. But I know I was trying to look up some stuff about this, and I was like, I have to know what's happening with Giles. So, there we go. Very revelatory at the time. As
far as I can remember, this was kind of before, like, we got the deluge of spoilers. I don't think Spoiler Slayer was quite
Spoiler
around
Slayer
yet,
wasn't up until season 3 or something.
Yeah. I do remember that later on this season, some of the stuff that happened later in this season did come out, but I don't think, like, we got, like, there's going to be an episode about Giles' past, but I do remember, like, when this episode came out and Giles and Ethan were in the scene together, and they have the little tribute to the prisoner with the "Be Seeing You."
Yes.
Yeah. Everybody was like, okay, so there's got to be something where Ethan comes back and we find out more about what's going on with Giles and why he's called Ripper, and they kind of figured out, okay, Ripper, Rupert kind of, like, went together. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, just even watching it as a viewer, I'm like, what? So I was really stoked to find out more. So.
Right. Mm-hmm. And of course, Ethan says they don't know who you really are.
Yeah.
And of course here we see a side of Giles that we do not see often. I mean, the other time that it jumps out at me is the end of season 5.
Yeah, and I mean the fact that he turns around, he decks him. I mean, there's actually, Rupert is suddenly, Giles is suddenly like, Action Man as compared to, the cute and cuddly one we were seeing earlier, who's like tripping over his own tongue. It was like, whoa, what is this?
Well,
what's going on? The scene
here?
that I really compare it to is, I believe it's the end of Dead Man's Party in season 3, when Giles is threatening Snyder to let Buffy back into school.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he's like, should I convince you? And he's so fucking hot. Like, I'm
sorry. Yeah. I wrote down, I love adorable Nebbish Giles. I love Killer Giles. I love all the Giles. Giles.
How can one not? I mean honestly.
Even the Giles without shrimp?
Any Giles, pretty much. As long as he has things below the belt line, I'm cool.
Yeah, no, but the reason this reminds me so much of the end of season 5 is this is Giles, who has clearly, as we will find out, made a point of civilizing himself after his younger days. But when it comes down to it, he will do what needs to be done.
Absolutely, absolutely.
To me, also, there's a little bit of the whole like Clark Kent Superman thing, especially the Chris Reeves version of it, where Giles is like bumbling and nebbishy and everything, and all of a sudden, given the chance, he's suddenly like superhero.
He rips off the glass and is like, I come from a planet called Krypton. I would watch
Transylvania. Transsexual Transylvania. Yeah. But anyway, so I just love that bit, and just like, whoa. Awesome.
I mean, I'm sure we're gonna have and Dark Age is coming up here pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think it's like 2 episodes.
We'll get very much more into this for Dark Age. Yeah.
And it's wonderfully integrated, and I actually wish we had more Just Giles episodes. We really only got 2.
Yeah.
But so we're at.
I think we're up to the scene with Willow. Willow walking down the street to how she died by treble charger. And oh my god, I fucking love this scene.
I do too.
So much.
And I love the van. Oz's striped British steering wheel van is great.
Yeah.
It's like
so
zebra
awesome.
print.
I think this is the last time we actually see this version of the van. I think the other times that it's the blue one, which is supposed to be the same van, but is obviously not because he's like sitting on the opposite side and it's different color, and it's like, what?
You're like, that's not the same van.
No. And I think this one, if I recall correctly, I think this one actually broke down, and that's why they had to replace it.
That makes sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah. They're like, we'll just get another crappy van.
But yeah, I think the scene is really nice. I mean, Seth has like the best smitten face
in the history of all smitten faces, really.
Yes.
He's kind of.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And I love how confidently Willow is walking. Like, she just does not care. Like, as much as I dislike Buffy, like, pushing that costume on Willow, as soon as all of the bad stuff goes down, Willow just forgets that, she's totally exposed.
Yeah.
Like, except for that moment with Giles, where Giles, like, draws attention to it. And then later on, Willow is walking home, and it's just like, okay, this is what I'm wearing. And she's gonna
right,
start
and she
herself.
tosses off the boo. Like, she could...
Yeah.
There's a moment where she could put the boo back on, but she doesn't.
Yeah.
And she's like, forget it.
Right. She just, I think something clicked in her head and she's okay with herself, which is great. You just sort of see the transition happen.
And it's not even being okay with wearing a skimpy outfit, because Willow's not still okay with wearing a skimpy outfit.
She's just more confident in her.
She's just more confident in her ability to problem solve, troubleshoot. And so I like, in that moment, it's very little about the costume that she's wearing.
Yeah, no, it's all internal, not external at all.
And which is something that Oz sees, because I'm sure he's like, wow, that girl is really good looking. But there's also something about the way she's walking that he's like, that girl's really terrific.
Yeah, the setup of the scene, the direction is really good. The actor, like, I mean, there's not even, like, there's only that one line of dialogue, but just the look on Seth's face and the way Allie's walking. I really love the song that they used in that scene. So I think it's just a really nice scene that, really helps set up the change in Willow.
Yeah.
And I think just the change of Willow in general, I mean, that's one of the things I like about this episode, is just the fact that we see her, like, do things and she's taking charge. And it doesn't, like, once the spell is broken, she doesn't go back to being mousy little Willow. That she's actually, it's grown, she's, like, evolved through this episode. So even though it's a traumatic experience, blah, 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 it has positive, there's positive reinforcement as to what
this episode is just a major turning point for Willow.
It really is.
It really is in a very big way.
And in a good way, too. It's not like she suddenly wakes up and, I'm going to be confident now. I'm going to listen to everything Buffy says. It's just, it's very organic and it's beautiful. It just really works.
It's not so much of, like, the overconfident. She's been underconfident. That's the thing. She's been underconfident for the past year. And now it's like, oh, hang on. I don't have to conform. Mm-hmm. I can actually, I mean, I'm not going to like shove things in people's faces, but I can be myself.
Mm-hmm. No, it's great. It's a great character development episode for Willow, and I do appreciate it. And this is peak Willow for me. Willow around here, a little bit in season 3 before I just am like had it with her. So this is peak Willow time for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we go from one of my favorite scenes of this episode to one of my least favorite scenes of this episode.
Blah.
We just have Buffy and Angel just fucking making out with each other, and, like, Angel's such a fucking liar.
He is a liar. Well, at this point, Angel, the writers are not
I was going to say, do they actually
They
know his
haven't filled
backstory?
that
Have they decided
backstory.
who he
Well,
is?
and all that
the
stuff
thing
yet,
is,
but-
they establish it by the end of the season.
Yeah.
So
Right.
there might have been a little bit of an idea in there, but I mean, like, seriously, he says he doesn't like the noble women from back then. The only reason he didn't like the noble women from back then is because they didn't fucking put out.
True.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, he thought Darla was a whore in the alleyway, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
So,
Yeah.
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 I mean, to be fair, what kind of noble woman would be out, like, by a tavern, like, late at night? Like,
True.
Just
True that.
chilling out.
Yeah,
by
chilling
herself.
out, buying out, waiting for someone to come out of the... Yeah. I mean...
And also, she was a whore.
And she
so-
was... True, she was a whore. She was a sex worker, sorry. I'm the worst. Yeah, and then he says, I always wanted to meet someone interesting that I can... No, you didn't. You wanted to drink and fuck.
You were drunk.
Yeah.
You were a drunken lout. You
You
did
were a
not
drunken
want to meet
lout.
anyone interesting. You wanted to get drunk, and you wanted to screw whores.
I mean, at that point, maybe when he was Buffy's age, maybe he had not gotten to be a drunk, because he's not a drunken, he's 26 when he's turned. So maybe he wanted to meet something interesting when he could talk to when he was not 26, but I don't think so.
Yeah, well, I
think-
mean, his father always, like, his father was obviously very abusive to him, but
Yeah,
seemed to,
that's
like,
true.
suggest that Liam was never, like, worth anything, that, like, it's not like he was stifled and then turned to the drink and the horror. It's just that he was a waste of space.
Well, when your father tells you you're a waste of space, then all of a sudden you're self-fulfilling prophecy, but we'll get to that
Well,
when
yeah.
we get to Angel. But, yeah, I mean, he was just come on.
Yeah.
He didn't want some sensitive, nice girl that he could talk to.
No.
He wanted to do it. And do it, and do it, and do it. Yeah, okay.
Okay, so
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's our episode.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
is the episode. So final thoughts on Halloween?
Oh, well, I do have a nitpick. Well, not a nitpick, but a how does this work? So when everyone reverts to their usual personality,
Yes.
why is Willow the only person who gets transported back to the exact spot where she changed?
Because there was a body there for her to go into.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. Okay.
I'm still
Yeah, 'cause she
confused
was-
as to why
she-
Willow was able to come back to life. Like, I mean,
She's
I know
no longer
I know she has to because
ghost.
she's a main character, but I mean, she fucking died.
Truth?
Oh, here's a question. A question for the ages that we'll never have an answer to. If Willow were the Slayer and she were affected by the spell, would a new Slayer be called?
Ooh, good question.
Ooh.
Very good question.
Ooh. I like it. That's a great question.
That's a question to... Is Joss on Twitter anymore?
Sometimes.
Question to
Is
bug
he?
Joss on Twitter.
Yeah, I
about.
think he's back on
Oh, it is?
Twitter.
Okay.
Yeah. He gave up for a while after Age of Ultron, but I think he's been back.
I can't say I blame him. Yeah.
I know he was back for the anniversary.
Also, he was around during the election because that's when he was doing his videos and stuff. So
Yeah.
Oh,
no, I
right.
mean, he's basically he just does a whole bunch of political stuff now. So.
And now that he's finishing Justice League, let's see. Maybe he'll get driven away from Twitter again.
Well,
I don't even want to talk about that.
I think this episode, personally, I really enjoy this one still. There's some stuff that I, like, roll my eyes at, but I just kind of push aside. It's like, okay, fucking Xander, like, whatever. But
See, I was
this is a fun
infuriated
one.
by Xander this time around. Just infuriated by him.
You're
Like, it
always
colored-
infuriated by Xander.
But the thing is, I love Xander all at the same time, but I'm so conflicted on Xander.
You're so conflicted on Xander.
I said Xander is a
I'm so
weenie, and that's
conflicted.
going to be the default setting forever. So
so it's a good it's a very solid season 2 episode. It's a memorable episode. It's a rewatchable episode.
It's an entertaining
thoughts.
episode.
yeah, to me, like I said, this is one of those quintessential, early Buffy episodes that almost everything is right about it. in terms of comedy, drama, horror, character development, and then intriguing like plot things like Ethan that are going to go forward in future. So it's a good one.
Yeah.
It's certainly not Reptile Boy.
I mean,
It's a Buffy episode. Like, everything that's wrong with it is kind of like an underlying problem with Buffy in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
all
mean,
the stuff,
it's charming.
all the stuff that doesn't work doesn't really, scupper the episode.
Yeah, it doesn't detract from it.
It's like
just
there
kind of
are
like-
problems, but it does. But then it moves on, and it does enough that it overcomes the problems.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's one of those episodes where if I was trying to get somebody into the show, I might actually sit them down to watch that and like School Hard.
Yeah.
Because it
Yeah.
gives you a really good flavor of
Yeah.
what the show's about without being overpowering, but it's enjoyable. It's funny. It's, it's got all the right things in there, and they work this time as compared to other times where it just falls flat. So. And it's got Willow and Oz and,
Yes.
Spike, so it's good.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I think we've reached the end of the episode at this point. So next time we'll be reviewing Lie to Me. Until then, grr arg.
Grog!
Grr. Arg.
Grr, arg!
We'd like to thank everyone who downloaded the podcast, and an extra special thanks to everyone who shared, liked, and subscribed on social media. If you'd like your questions or comments read on the show, you can contact us on our website, returntothehellmouth.com, on YouTube at Return to the Hellmouth, on Tumblr and Facebook at Return to the Hellmouth, on Twitter at HellmouthReturn, or on email at returntothehellmouth@gmail.com. We'll be sure to read your comments on the show. Be sure to rate our shows at iTunes and Stitcher. See you on Tuesday for Lie to Me.
Grr.